Okay, so Thanksgiving at 12:30, the Houston Texans defeated the Detroit Lions 41-25. Just to give you some stats for the game, so some guys that really balled out. So for the Texans, it was Deshaun Watson. He had 4 touchdowns. He went 17 for 25 at 318 yards. Duke Johnson had nine rushes for 37 yards. He also had 3 receptions for 43 yards and a touchdown. Will Fuller went off. He had 6 receptions for 171 yards and 2 TDs. Brandon Cooks had 5 receptions for 85 yards. CJ Prosise had a receiving touchdown. Tyrell Adams on the defense, he had 2 forced fumbles. Nate Hall had a forced fumble, and JJ Watt had a pick six. Um, Tyrell Adams, he led the team with 17 tackles. Zach Cunningham had 9 tackles. Whitney Merciless and Nate Hall each had Whitney Merciless had 1 sack, and then Nate Hall had 2. Vernon Hargreaves had 6 sacks, and Justin Reed had 8 tackles with a sack. As for the Lions, Matt Stafford went 28 for 42. He had 295 yards. He had a TD and an interception. Also, he had a fumble. Adrian Peterson had 15 rushes for 55 yards and 2 TDs. Kerryon Johnson had 11 rushes for 46 yards. He also had 4 receptions for 52 yards, and he had a fumble. TJ Hawkinson had 5 receptions for 89 yards. Marvin Jones had 6 receptions for 48 yards. Mohamed Sanu had a touchdown. Um, Jonathan Williams had a fumble. Jamie Collins had 5 tackles. Jared, I think that says, I'm sorry, carrying my own handwriting, damn it. Jared Davis had half a sack along with Everson Griffin, and Nicholas Williams had a sack. So, Nate, your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, you and I said the Texans will win this game, and they won it. And they won it in blowout. I thought it was going to be close, but I guess they won in blowout fashion. Deshaun Watson went out there and did his thing. It wasn't the flashiest thing in the world, but Deshaun Watson. He's gonna do whatever he can to help his team lift the win, and that's what he did. And he did it on Thanksgiving too, so that just makes the win even more special. Um, as for the Lions really are just. I mean, I get there was no standard for the Lions at the beginning of the season. I get they weren't expected to do anything. You said they would be a dark horse. I disagree. I didn't think they were going to do anything. I really think Matt Patricia's holding that team back. If I'm being honest, I don't think Matt Patricia's a good coach. To be honest with you, and I really think the Lions need to cut his head off and say you're gone. And this was just a perfect example of my point. The Lions aren't performing the way they should be. They have all these stars. They have a quality quarterback in Matthew Stafford. They have veteran receivers and backs. Adrian Peterson's a good example of that. Mohamed Sanu is another one. You know what I mean? And they have other players like Danny Amendola and other players, and they're just not performing. And I really do think Matt Patricia is the reason why this team is being held back. Because if you think about it, he's been there for how long now? A few years now? I can't remember. And Matthew Stafford's been there for a while too. And I gotta be honest, before not Matt Stafford, Matt Patricia was hired as a coach, the Lions had a better chance of making the playoffs every year. I really think Matt Patricia's holding this team back, and I really think he needs to be fired. I'm sorry. You may disagree with me, and I really don't care, but I think Matt Patricia is the biggest problem on this Detroit Lions team. He needs to go, and now.
Right. I mean, I can't disagree with you, but I can't disagree. But I will say this: this was a game that they weren't completely out of it before this game. They were 4-6. They were tied with my Vikings in this division, and one win here would have been a huge win. If they had beaten the Texans, it would have been a huge win. They would have been 5-6. They would have been rising up in those rankings. They would have been behind the Bears, or maybe even with the Vikings if the Vikings would have won this Sunday. I don't know, but um, I want to give some credit though to somebody else that doesn't get a lot of credit on this Texans team. Romeo Cornell, the guy who came in and took over Bill O'Brien's head coaching spot. He did
Yeah,
a great job. He did a great job because this team has been kind of flipping around. That this team's starting to make a flip around, and a big reason I think is because of him. And so, a
I
very
thought that
veteran.
Bill O'Brien wasn't serving him any justice.
Right. I mean, Romeo Cornell is a very veteran coach.
Hmm.
I mean, players seem to like him. Seems like he has a good relationship with his players. But also one thing with the Lions of this game that is just unacceptable is the amount of fumbles that they had, with
Yeah,
especially with within that one little point in the game where it was just a fumble. They get the ball back and they fumble it again, and they get the ball back and they fumble it again. Like all these fumbles cannot be happening, you know. And then like combined with that was the JJ Watt pick six. Like those points start adding up, you know.
Yeah,
And
right.
maybe if you only had one fumble in this game, maybe the Lions probably would have been in a 7-point game where they probably could have won the game. But because of all these fumbles that you had, because of the pick six, those points start to add up. Even if like the fumble doesn't lead up to points, you're still putting them in good field position to make points. And because of that, I believe that was a big reason why Detroit was. It's a big reason why Detroit, lost this game.
Mm,
And the reason why Houston won this game is because their defense was aggressive.
yeah,
Their defense didn't let Detroit get comfortable. And I mean, first of all, I think honestly, I could point to there's a lot of players in the game. You know what I'm saying? I could point to Deshaun Watson. I could point to Will Fuller, but I'm not going to point to neither one of them. Here's what I'll point to: Tyrell Adams. Tyrell Adams, for this guy to have two forced fumbles, very crucial. Fumbles are very crucial in this game. When you force a fumble, that's always something good. Just like interceptions. When you can make the ball go to the other team, that's definitely a momentum shifter. So to have two forced fumbles, that's big. And not only that, to have 17 tackles,
that's crazy.
that is
That's
defensive work right there.
that is
Tyrell
defensive
Adams
work.
deserves to be, in my opinion, player of this game because without those 17 tackles, without those two forced fumbles, who knows where the Texans are at in this game? Because remember, they get those scores because they were in good field position. J.J. Watt didn't have to run that far. He only had to run 19 yards to get a touchdown. You know what I'm saying? I mean, credit to him for the pick six. I mean, credit to J.J. Watt because obviously it was a good pick six, and obviously he did a good job. And he's a veteran player. He's very intelligent at the game. But if it wasn't Tyrell Adams, 17 tackles, they're not where they're supposed to be. And so, with that being said, I got to tip my cap to him. Um, and another thing that shocked me was Houston had like the fewest turnovers heading into the game. Heading into the game, they had like the fewest turnovers in the league. And so, actually, I think within that time before this game, they had like the fewest turnovers in this amount of time since like the Super Bowl era. And the fact that they can get 4 turnovers in one game and 3 of them coming in one quarter, that is ridiculous.
I gotta give the Texans my credit because we all know Bill O'Brien screwed this team over from the back of his brain. He knew he screwed over this team, giving away 2 first rounders for the next 2 years, trading away DeAndre Hopkins. He basically like screwed this team with his own fist. And I mean, they're working with what they got. They still have a quality quarterback in Deshaun Watson. I think in my opinion, I still think he's top 5 in the league. Anybody can disagree with me on that, but I just think Deshaun Watson's at that level of quarterback. But I mean, I gotta give them my credit, man. They're working with what they got. It's very, very little, but they're still making do it. I mean, I know it's a little progress, but any progress is better than none. You know what I mean? And the fact that they're working with very little of what they got is just, it deserves a lot of credit.
Right. And one thing I want to say before we end this topic is that Detroit, I honestly, this game, I'm not gonna blame it fully on Matt Patricia. He is
Mm,
part to blame. Don't get me wrong, I'm not taking it out. But again, when you don't have Kenny Galladay on your team and you don't have Danny Amendola as well in this game, you Jeff Okuda, your best corner, it really is tough to win a game.
yeah, it is.
So for this game, I don't think the line. Here's what I'm gonna say: the Lions didn't play their best game, right?
Mhm.
But if you take away these turnovers, they're in the game with Houston. You know what I'm saying? If you
Yeah,
take away the turnovers that they got, they're in the game with Houston. And so that being said, I can't really blame it all on Matt Patricia. This week, they just got plagued with a lot of injuries. They
yeah,
got plagued with a lot. Kenny Galladay not being there for them. That's tough, man. That is tough. That is their no. I don't even know. I think he's probably number 2 to Marvin Jones, but there are days when he is number 1, Kenny Galladay, and I think both of them are a good duo. I mean, I'm a Vikings fan, and I have huge amount of respect for Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones. Huge amount of respect. So so for him not being there, that is tough. Danny Amendola not being there, that's tough because Danny Amendola might not be having his best year in his career, but there are times where he can actually shift momentum, where he actually gets the first down, where he actually gets 20, 30-yard receptions. And so that's really important too. And then Jeff Okuda not being able to guard Will Fuller, I'm not saying he would have locked him down, but I'm saying him not being there, it really does put a lot of pressure on that Lions defense. And honestly, it's been tough, man.
Yeah.
It's been tough for the Lions. Like I can definitely see like a firing coming. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't hope people lose their jobs or nothing like that. But like I can definitely see it happen. And so, I mean, the turnaround. I don't think the turnaround is too late for the Lions, but they got to figure out what to do. They got to
They
figure
really
something
do.
out.
Absolutely. But yeah, good win for the Texans. As for the Lions, got to go back to the drawing board.